Japanese journalist Kenji Goto. First, he was kidnapped by Islamic State terrorists in Syria. Then in 2015, he was decapitated. The pro-Russian journalist Oles Busniar. In April 2015, he was shot in Kiev by a sniper driving past. In Mexico, protests after the murder of Rubén Espinosa. For a long time now, Mexico has been a dangerous country for journalists. A total of 110 journalists were murdered in 2015. In 67 of the cases, the journalists were specifically targeted for their reporting, while 18 more died while performing journalistic work.
In Syria, in war regions, you don't expect the state really to get involved in the safety of journalists, unfortunately. But in those countries where there is still a government and a state in place, we do expect that these countries make sure that journalists can work freely and without fear of violence.
In France, an attack on the Charlie Hebdo magazine came with a clear message. Journalists expressing critical opinions must fear for their lives, even in Europe. And in Egypt, 3 journalists from Al Jazeera were held in cages during their trial. Because they exercised their right to freedom of speech, they were sentenced to several years in prison.
We think one of the main means we can achieve that is to put into place a special representative for journalists with the UN, the United Nations. He will then work with the states and the nations where journalists have to fear crimes against them in their work.
A UN representative might be able to investigate why people who murder journalists for simply doing their job are almost never brought to justice.